let's remove the wheel, 21mm socket. Now with the wheel off, you can see clearly the tie rods, and I'm going to start by removing or loosening up this jam nut here. I'm using a 19mm wrench. Sometimes these are pretty stuck. Mine wasn't too bad. You can use a rubber mallet on the end of your wrench if you need to. I don't want to back this off too much. I just want to spin it off a thread or two. That way it releases the outer tie rod. At this point, we can move down, and you'll see at the end of the knuckle here, there's a cotter pin that goes through the tie rod stud. For me, this one looks like it's in pretty poor condition. Usually you want to remove them, but I think I'm just going to end up cutting it because I don't see how this one can still come out in one piece. Yeah, so I'm going to cut it flush, and then I'm going to hammer a socket onto here and just remove the nut like that. Grab your 17mm socket. There it is. At this point, you want to grab your hammer on the knuckle, and that's going to release this tie rod stud from the knuckle. There it goes. Pull this up. Apparently the boot was ripped. At this point, what you want to do is when you remove this, when you unthread it, count the amount of turns that it takes to take it off. That way, when you put it back on, you put it back the same amount of turns. Now, my jam nut did not move on the inner tie rod, so basically I just have to bottom out the tie rod onto the jam nut. This whole assembly moved as one unit, but if yours did unthread onto the tie rod, just count the amount of turns. About 14.5 for me. Of course, for you, it's most likely going to be different. While I'm here, I'm just going to add some lubricant to these threads. Grab your new tie rod and thread it on the same amount of turns that it did to take it off. Now, this is not going to get you a perfect alignment. You're still going to have to go get a professional alignment, but this will get you as close as possible to a good alignment. So while you're driving down to the alignment shop, your wheels aren't crooked. This is exactly where my old one was sitting. So I'm going to remove my castle nut here off the new one. We'll bring it into the knuckle, press it down all the way, put on your new castle nut, and let's snug it up. This new one is now an 18mm. Let's torque it, 36 foot-pounds. Right there is 36. If for some reason your cotter pin slot does not line up with the castle nut, you always want to keep tightening. Don't loosen these to make it line up. Looks like mine actually lines up perfectly, so that's good. So I'm going to put my cotter pin through and bend it over to lock it in. Make sure it's bent over all the way so it doesn't get in the way of the tire or hurt anybody that might be working on it. Perfect. And last thing is to snug up this jam nut. That way it locks in the tie rods together. Make sure that's nice and tight. And then I like to bring this back. That way this outer tie rod is sitting parallel with the knuckle, not at an angle like that. Let's get the wheel back on. Start on all 5 of your lug nuts, bottom them out, torque them to 76 foot-pounds. All right, take it for a road test.